This is just a quick demo showing you how to produce embossed style letters onto paper or card using a 3D printer. I'm using 3 pieces of software. The first one is Inkscape, the second one is Blender, and the third one is Ultimaker Cura. They're all free and I'm putting the links to them below. I'm starting with Blender because I need to convert a bitmap or jpeg image into a vector. So once you've opened it, you need to select it and then go into Path, Object to Path. And then on the right hand side, if you do a live preview, you'll find you've got what you're going to see as a vector. So click OK on that and you'll find this has given you 2 images, one on top of the other. The top one is the one we want and the bottom one is the old bitmap or jpeg that you can get rid of. So delete that and then use the top image, the vector image. When you click on the Edit Path node on the left hand side, you'll find it shows there's an awful lot of nodes there. So if you go to Path, Simplify, it'll get rid of a lot of the ones you don't need. So we've nearly finished with Inkscape now. All you need to do is go back and select the whole thing and then go File, Save, and save it as an SVG file. It doesn't matter whether it's an Inkscape SVG or a plain one, but that's the file that you need to put it into Blender. It doesn't really matter what size the image is that you save at this stage. You need Blender for 2 reasons. First of all, the file format to go into the 3D printer needs to be into an STL format, and secondly it hasn't got any depth to it and Blender will give it a depth. To use Blender effectively you really need a 3-button mouse. So once you've opened it, select the cube, the default cube, and on the keyboard hit delete. You now need to go to File, Import, select SVG and find the location where you saved the Inkscape file. So click on it and import it. You then need to click on 7 on the keyboard and N to open up the right hand side and put the image square on. You then right hand click on the image to select it and press S on the keyboard and drag the left hand mouse key to scale it up to whatever size you want and then hit enter. If you put the cursor over the image and right click on it and drag it, you can put it to whatever position you want it to be in. Once the image is selected again, if you use the middle mouse key and drag it up, you can see that this image has got no depth and therefore it won't print. You need to give it depth. But before we do that, it's always best to put the scale right. So hit Ctrl A on the keyboard and select Scale. You now need to click the scene icon on the right hand side and select centimetres as the unit of measurement. Then click on the modifier icon on the right hand side and select Solidify. Change the thickness to 0.5 of a mil and now we're nearly there. Again, don't worry too much about the scale. Go to File, Export, select the file format as STL and the options on the left hand side will show you the ability to change the scale. So change the scale to 10, make sure you've selected Z up, Y forward and then export it to a location and a name that you want. In this example, because I'd already saved the file, I don't need to do it. So I'll cancel it here, but you need to export it. We've now finished with Blender, so when the file is saved you can close it. But I ought to say that now we're going to move on to Cura. I'm only using Cura because that's the program that my 3D printer uses for printing. So Cura isn't necessarily the program you want if your printer uses a different piece of software. I'm not going to talk through step by step in Cura now because it may not be the piece of software that you have to use. But basically what I'm trying to do is import the file that we saved from Blender scale it to whatever size we need to scale it, but make sure the thickness is a thickness that will give you one thickness when you actually produce it on the 3D printer. And in my case, I'm setting it somewhere near 0.5 millimetre thick. I'm printing in PLA, and I get the best results with a low bed temperature. I set the bed temperature around 40 degrees, and I set the extrusion temperature at 200. I also make sure that the option for a skirt is removed so that it just goes directly to print the image that I want. As long as the end results give me a print thickness of just one layer, that's all I'm after, and the rest is exactly the same as any other 3D print, except the fact that it's printing on paper or card and just one layer. To use it on my printer, Wanho, I save the file to an SD card and put the SD card in the printer. I hold the paper or card down on the printer bed using small fold back clips, and I've put an image of the paper on the printer right at the end of the Cura presentation. I haven't shown the 3D printing process because if you've got a 3D printer, you already know how to do that. You will need to experiment with the paper or card that you use, because I find that the print really sticks well to some types of paper and not others, and also the material can distort with the heat if you're not careful, and that's why I set the bed temperature to around 40 degrees and let the paper sit on it for a minute or two before I actually start the printing process. Hope you find it interesting. I'll leave you with a picture of the setup on the printer, and thanks for watching.